Welcome everybody to this edition of Beers with Bill. It's my great pleasure to welcome back Sam from Sawdust City. Sam, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah. And how was hockey practice with the boys?
Oh, it was good. It was their. They just started this team. Their first game was on the weekend, so it's the first time he's done rep, and I'm pretty excited.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yeah, it was. We finished as soon as baseball ended. Hockey just started. It's been a constant cycle of driving around this province, which is great because it's nice. It's like these towns and arenas and baseball diamonds I haven't been to in many years, so it's always good to revisit them.
Brings back old memories, eh?
Oh, it very much does. I mean, it was 30 years ago, and then like some places are new, but a lot of them have stayed exactly the same.
Isn't that a little bit scary?
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of charm in some of those old barns, but again, some of them, the new places are fantastic. Bracebridge actually is one of the oldest rinks in the province, so we're thankfully getting a new one soon. But it actually caught fire earlier this year, and then the lights were so old it took them. It burned, like the generator exploded. It took like 3 weeks to source the lights. So it was out. Wow. It's like 75 years old.
Wow. Cherry and Emma want to know if you've ever played in Bancroft.
I'm sure I did when I was a kid. It's a little bit far for us. Like it would be, that's like an hour and a half, but that's kind of in our wheelhouse.
So talk to me about Wicked Human.
All right. Wicked Humans was a collab we did with Town Brewing. It was a home and home. And the idea behind it was that we did the same beer twice. The first beer was the same ingredients, but made like a German Pilsner. So we used lager yeast, and ours was a West Coast IPA. Same recipe, just tweaked those ingredients to make it more like an IPA. So with ours, we did first wort hopping, mash hopping, late kettle hopping, and dry hopping. The hop that we used was Vista, and the malt was Raven 4 malted pills. 4 malted pills adds a nice, like, it's got like a rustic, toothsome feel to it. Like for a single malt, you still get a little bit of body there. That lends a nice mouthfeel. And then the hops, I don't know if Vista will ever be a big IPA hop. I think it's more suited to probably lagers or saisons, something like, it's kind of a supporting actor as opposed to the main billing. I like it. I think it's a good beer. I enjoy it. It's kind of comes across like a light IPA, but very sessionable, nice orange quality kind of characteristics, kind of sticky on the teeth, a little bit oily. But overall, it's a nice, refreshing beer, pretty easy to drink. What do you think?
I'm still trying to decide what the flavor really is.
It's not, how we're so used to these big IPA hops that have sort of dominated the market for the last, better part of a decade. Your Mosaic, Citra, Simcoe, some of the newer ones like the Galaxy or what have Sultana. Those big over the top hops, oily hops. This seems to be a little bit more subdued, not quite as verbose, not quite as American, even though it is fully American.
Now, Derek goes rotisserie chicken, whereas I was like, I'm getting almost I guess rotisserie chicken might be the way I would describe it on the nose. But I'm going to give him a pass on that. It's interesting. I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be like a hop you would do anything but build a good IPA around by adding other things with it.
Yeah, like we put it at every stage and we didn't hold back. Like there's a lot in there. It's still like rather subdued. It's pleasant enough. It's just not what we've come to expect from an IPA hop. And that's why we do these beers where we try these different experiments. And that was the whole point of us experimenting with these. Like, we've come to the point where like collaborations are fun and all, but we should be learning from them and what can we take away. So we tried these 2 different beers, 2 different styles with the same ingredients, and this is where we landed. That's the experiment. There's no right or wrong. That's just how it came out. And I mean, I still like the beer. I just, the hop wasn't quite as punchy as I was hoping.
No, it's far more sessionable, that's for sure.
And we kept it at 6% to make it sessionable. That, I mean, to an extent. But like when I drink a can of it, I feel like, I could have some more of that. It's pleasantly bitter. It's got a nice sticky mouthfeel. It's got some of those qualities of a West Coast. It's nice and crisp, but doesn't have that aromatic punch that I think we've come to expect from those big Northwest US hops.
Yeah.
And it'll play well with others, so we'll find places to put it into some of the lighter styles, and I think it'll do fine. It's just not going to be. It's not the next Citra.
No,
It's
the backbone you're going to build off of.
Totally. And talking I was actually just with Jeff Broders the other day talking about it. It's like we've sort of come to this point where it's time for us to get a new set of hops. I think that people, instead of the same 3 hops that just get rotated in and out you see on IPAs, it'd be nice to see some new hops come in. And there are people playing with more and more, but like it still seems to be the same, and they sort of getting a little bit lost in the fray. So Vista's it is a new hop. It came out last year. It was experimental hop until this year, and it got named, but it's still very, very new. We got it from Brew Culture. They were part of the collab as well. They provided the malt and hops, and from their standpoint too, this is a way for them to sell this hop to somebody and say, here's exactly what it tastes like. This is what you should expect. Here's what you can use moving forward. Take this as you will, and use it as a chance to get an idea of what the flavors and aromas will be like from this particular hop.
Well, yeah, just I'm sitting here paying attention right now, going, you've got a slight edge of banana in there. You've got a lot of orange that you could build off of in that flavor. The nose is quite deceiving, but I'm paying attention to what's going on in my mouth right now, and it's like, wow, yeah, you could build on this quite a bit.
Totally. There's some other hops that can play with the orange or can play with that fruitiness, and I think or you can play that with some yeast, with a different strain of yeast like the saison, like I was saying, and I think that would play really well with some of that spiciness or fruitiness from those yeast-derived esters and aromas.
Yeah. That's kind of what Mike was alluding to further up in the chat line. Just be great in a saison. I'm sitting there going, I wonder what this would be like if you put it with a Saka.
Yeah, that's another good one. That's another one that we used to use that quite a bit, and we haven't in a long time.
Yeah.
We actually it's just one of those ones that we stopped using, and no, I don't know why. Well, maybe we should go back to it.
It's kind of an overlooked one at times, like it gets a lot of excitement and then it goes away. So,
well, we're back into that, trying some new stuff again, and maybe we'll pull that one back out. Like we did a lot of stuff with the Zaka about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it runs in streaks. People rediscover it, and then it kind of goes away, and then they rediscover it. Curious where you got the name Wicked Human from.
Okay, well, it actually came from Jeff. Well, not specifically Jeff, from Town. So at Town, when they do their labels, basically they source artwork from artists all over the globe, and then they reach out to the artist and say, hey, you mind if we use your art as a label? And I don't know how they pay the person or whatever, but one of the guys they got it was from the Czech Republic, and his response to them was like, he addressed them as wicked humans, like, hello, wicked humans. Thank you for asking me to do this. So that's what he said he wanted to use the name for. And so I'm like, oh, it works for me. And that's where it came from.
That's great. So
And
you guys,
sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
no, go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, the guys at town were fantastic to work with. We had a wonderful time doing this, home and home series, getting to know them. We sort of met during COVID at the end of I guess it was in the spring of last year. And then we set up to do the early summer. We did the Pilsner version, and then sort of end of summer into just now, early fall, we did this version. So we both got to visit each other's breweries and get to know each other. And it's always nice to meet some more wicked humans.
Absolutely true on that. That's for sure. That's for sure. So some exciting news. You've got the event space open finally.
Yeah, this past weekend we had our grand opening. We've done 2 events now. There was actually a wedding the weekend before. Some friends at the brewery, 2 of the brewers, the really good friend got married there. So that was the first big event, which went over really well. We had another small event last week where we did a beer tasting for some of the banking investors. And then this past weekend was our first foray into the public and having people in and seeing it. So that was something that started, 2019. So
Pre-COVID, wasn't it?
yeah. So it started 2019, took a gentle pause from 2020 till the end of 2022, and now it's finally finished.
Must be exciting for you.
Yeah, very much. We got, big plans to get some more events in there in the coming year. We're starting to build that out as we get through all the bumps of opening. And right now, a big hurdle is staffing, getting people, committed to being on an event team or being a part of the staff there. It's just been a rotate. All the service industry has been a rotating door. Our kitchen is now fully open, but again, just trying to get people in and keep them there has been a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, I can see that.
Especially at this time of year, like in the summer, sure, people are up here.
Yeah.
But then they go back to school and they leave. Unfortunately, it's not the type of job that it's got to be somebody who's local, because it's not a job you're moving to Muskoka to do. Like, it's just not the nature of the job. There's just not enough money it just doesn't work. And I don't know. It's a difficult situation, and we'll figure it out. I think, a lot of people are in that same boat. So, I mean, we're completely new to that side of it. I mean, you at the kickoff, you know what it's like.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. My friend runs 211 down in Port Dover, and we stopped in the other day, and she goes, all new staff. Everybody went back to school.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So,
but it's still exciting to have this new space and the opportunity to get people in. We see more and more of it as we get, more acquainted with it.
are you sleeping nights?
Oh yeah, I sleep well. This summer was really good, especially at the saloon. Like in our internal space, we had a lot of people through the doors, which is great. We've got our new canning line that we commissioned this past year, just 2 months ago, and it's been an absolute game changer in terms of, just not just the quality of the product, but our efficiency and how well and how fast it's actually changed how we run our production cycles. We know we can now package what we used to do in 4 days. Or 2 days, over 4 days, we can do 2. So we can empty both our brights in a day, and it's still less time than one single bright when we were running it with the old canning line, with significant less loss and better packaged product. So everyone has been a lot more outside of those tangible things like efficiencies and more product. The stress on our team has been greatly reduced. This line runs like a dream. No one's pulling their hair out. It's been a very, very pleasant last couple of months.
I'm glad to hear that.
You really realize how much stress that thing causes. And so now, like, there's brewing days and then the packaging days, and because we can do them both everyone just moves over to packaging for a day, and then we move back over here. So there's not enough. We don't have to hire 2 different staffs. We just have one team, and
Yeah.
everyone just does everything, and it's
Oh.
really helped.
Gonna say that would be a load off of everybody's mind for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure a couple of guys had PTSD from that canning line. It's just the brains have been like stressed, and you can see it visibly leaving their faces.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Mike's curious, what was the lead time on getting the new canning line?
Oh God. Oh geez. Like we ordered it. It was supposed to be here in March, then April, then May. It arrived beginning of July, smack dab in the middle of summer. So from the second week of July till July, I went on vacation the third day it was running, and it was up and running fine. But like it took almost 3 weeks to get that going. It was quite the process. But yeah, like we started the process of looking for a canning line the year before. Spent a year looking for sourcing the one that we wanted, and then it wasn't just the canning line; it was all the conveyance after, a new decal. Like we did the whole line. Because the line was so much faster, we needed to get conveyance and packaging and stuff that could keep up with the line and allow it to run it. Like we went from 40 cans a minute to 100 cans a minute, and that's a huge, like that's like warp 1 to warp 10. Like we're now in the Enterprise, and it's going fast.
Terry, I wonder, did you sell the canning line to somebody else, the old one?
Yeah, we sold it to a gentleman in Quebec, Shin Family Brewery. We were actually out there. I recently just went out to Maine for a little beer vacation, and on the way we actually stopped and visited Patrice. He's been around for 30 years. He makes really great Belgian style beers, a lot of barrel aged stuff. It's just a small farm brewery. I'd say like 10 kilometers into the Quebec province. It's like either the first or second exit once you cross over the border on the 401. So when it turns over to the 20, you'll pass like 2 exits, and you'll see a sign that says Shin Family Brewery that way. And you just drive up this rural road. It's a very small brewery, and he just kind of does things when he wants to. He services just the Quebec market, and he's a very interesting fellow with a very heavy brewing background, stretching all the way back to Belgium and a number of Belgian breweries over there. He's really neat meeting.
How's his English?
Oh, his English is fine. He's Belgian, but he speaks obviously French as well. And
yeah,
he imports some products from Belgium. And
when I go to Montreal, I think I'll stop and see him and convince him to come on the show.
Oh, you know what? He'd be great. He has also got a brewery. He's part of an ownership team that has a brewery in Mexico as well.
Oh wow.
He's got many stories to tell of beers from all over the planet, and he's just like I said, 30 years of running this, but his family had a brewery back in Belgium, and so he's very rich in brewing history. I mean, and it was like I never heard of these guys. Unfortunately, in Ontario, we don't always get to hear the breweries in Quebec, and he was the guy that reached out, and he had bought, like, it was so fast. I couldn't believe it. It couldn't have worked out better.
Oh, that's great.
When our canning line got delayed, and I felt so terrible because we'd given him a date, and he had a date that he needed it by. When I reached out, his wife was pregnant, and then they had their baby a little bit early, and because they had the baby, he's like, I can't take the canning line right now anyway, so it all worked out. I'm like, this just keeps, I'm like, congratulations, you have a new baby and everything. But I'm really happy that I don't have to let you down. And it all worked out over, and it was great. And I'm glad he came up to Muskoka a few times, so we had a couple discussions over some glasses of beer, and he'd definitely be worth someone having on the show just to get a different perspective, at least from the Quebec side.
Wow, that's great. I'm glad that all worked out great for you.
Yeah, and now it's got a new home, and they can continue its life somewhere else. And it's far enough away that we don't have to think about it. It's crossed the provincial line. It's gone. It's out of our area code.
Someone else's problem now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, but it didn't, that canning line didn't know us anything. We had it for 8 years. We put 8 million cans to it, and
Wow.
we did our best, and it lasted. So
Yep.
it
You
does
do
know us.
Award of Excellence or Orchard of Change?
I would do Award of Excellence next.
Yep.
So the Award of Excellence is a German Hefeweizen. It's can conditioned. We use it's all Canadian malt. This is where we wanted to turn to some Canadiana for the naming of the beer. I'm not sure if you remember the Canadian Fitness Awards that you used to have to do back in elementary school. And the Award of Excellence was the top one that you could get. There was the red one, but then there was the gold, silver, and bronze. I absolutely hated those stupid chin-ups and burpees and how many sit-ups can you do and push-ups? Oh, it was hell when you were a kid. And
Participation.
yeah, right. So
Cheers.
we were leaning into that, something that was specifically Canadian that I think people of a certain vintage would appreciate. Because I don't think they do it anymore. They don't do the Canadian. I don't think they force kids to do like and then rank them with badges. Like it just seems so antiquated now that it's not possible that it would work. Everybody would get the Award of Excellence now.
Very true. Oh, you were only able to do one push-up, one sit-up, and walk 3 feet. Here's your Award of Excellence.
There you go. Everyone's the same. But we really worked hard on this beer. So it's like I said, it's all Canadian ingredient. The malts here are from Barn Owl. So we got the wheat and the pills are from Barn Owl, and the hops are from Hey Ho hops. The only thing that's not specifically Canadian would be the yeast, which is German, but I guess because it was propagated here, and these would be first generation Canadians. The yeast is first generation Canadian.
Okay, we'll buy that.
We followed the traditional mash profile of we did the fruitic rest, and then we did a protein rest, and then so it was like a 6-step mash, and then we started with a cool fermentation and built it a little bit hotter so we get a little bit more of the banana and a lot of the spicy phenols. It's nice and dry, but still got a lot of heft and body, and pretty happy with it.
This is a beer my wife would drink. She likes that style. So
it's not like I remember like 10 years ago, you could definitely get more Hefas here in Ontario, obviously side launch, with Michael doing his Denisons, but like, it just seems like a lot of people have moved away from those more traditional styles.
Yep.
They've fallen out of favor. So we spent, a lot of this year kind of retracing our steps over stuff that we enjoy, and things that we used to wonder why they went away in the first place. As everything becomes a little bit more just singular, we wanted to keep everyone's eyes open to the possibilities of all the different beer styles that are out there.
I hear you on that. Mike's curious, how competitive is it to get the novel and new hops right now?
It's not as difficult as it was before. There is the resale market and the people, like the hoarding of hops. People don't have the money or the resources to hold on to these long contracts. Everybody's, living off the skin of their teeth. The industry is in a different place. Like it's just not. The long contract is something that has been sort of, at least for now. Again, it could be cyclical. Even the contracts are getting positioned to us in sort of like year one is 100%, and 75, 50, 25, because people can't. Things come and go so fast that you can't go long on a contract and expect. Like we stopped making beers with Galaxy. Like we just had to let that contract go and go like, we don't use it anymore. Why are we bending over backwards for this? So it's taken a bit. And like we look at how we produce beers, we're not like as much as we do a number of IPAs, we're not an IPA brewery. We don't just lean heavy into these overhopped IPAs. We're doing a bunch of different things that don't necessarily involve these fancy new hops. we're doing we like to play with yeast, we like to play with malt, we like to play with all these different things. So we don't put all of our eggs in the hop basket because we just dug ourselves out of that hole. Like everybody was in that hole for a long time because you got so panicky. You bought these long contracts, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, we're not making that beer anymore. We don't need that hop. How do I get out of a contract that I signed? And then you just move over to another hop, and then it just keeps pushing and pushing. So, we bit the bullet and sort of got out of it. And now we just sort of buy not quite as enough as we need, and then just cover the spot when we don't. And then, the hop growers are still coming to us and saying, hey, I got this fancy new hop. Do you want to try it? And I love trying it, like the Vista and Dan. And like we did with the Moss top, which was in the Flapdoodle, which unfortunately I guess you couldn't get. But that was, it's a British hop. It's done like Charles Fair, but it's actually a Czech hop. And it's a very unique kind of like berry quality to it that I think fits really well with the best bitters. Like it just gives it a little bit more of a punch, but it's still it's not over the top. It's just a nice, different quality. It kind of plays well with sort of more of the caramelly notes of the beer.
Remind me of a question. What do you think is the most recent set of beer trends that are going to stick around?
I don't know. I could say what I feel, but I don't know if it's true because
I want to hear what you feel.
I mean, I think that, people are starting to play a lot more with malts and getting back into more of the malty styles of beers, which isn't just lagers or ales. It's like just playing with more of those traditional flavor profiles that I don't think IPAs are going anywhere. I think they'll still be the driver of craft beer, but there has to be some variety. And I think that's just the easiest choice because it doesn't cost as much as the hops do to play with. Yeast driven flavors as well. Like it doesn't cost as much. You can still derive lots of flavors and profiles from just a much simpler approach than just over hopping something. And I think as the consumers mature, they'll move back into these not so much hammer over the head, but just nuanced flavors. And I think that's something you can get more from like a well-balanced malty beer than you can from a hazy double IPA with strawberry and lactose in it.
So you think that we're moving towards more malt forward beers?
I mean, that's just how I've progressed. And I don't know if I'm just outside of the zeitgeist now and I'm just moved away, but I see other breweries doing some more of those things, playing around, going back to those old British style of beers and going back to those old German styles of beers. I don't know if they'll ever be popular, but they'll be around, and I think more people will start to experiment with them because everybody and their brother has 4 IPAs. So
yeah.
How do you differentiate yourself? How do you keep your brewers happy and sort of like fulfilled making new things? You have to go be old to make new things again.
Interesting. You have to be old to make new things.
Yeah. Well, like barrel-aged beers seem to have, not bourbon or barrel-aged beers, that's straight, like more like the sour barrel-aged beers seems to have really fallen off a bit. People, they don't move. It's hard to move that product. People seem to be coming back into the middle a bit more. I don't know if that's just because the industry has tightened up so much. There's still definitely lots of it out there, but I don't see as many people playing around with that as we did 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I don't know. I mean, I think lagers are still getting a big push, but again, just saying that lagers are getting big, there are so many lagers out there. Like, sure, pilsners are starting to pick up, but does that mean like dark lagers are going to pick up, or Dunkels or anything like that? So I don't know. Like I don't want to just pigeonhole lagers into this one small little ring when it's such a vast plethora of styles. And
well, yeah, it became kind of the go-to beer for the last year and a bit, isn't it?
The pilsners
and lagers.
Yeah, for sure. And I think because people are getting a little bit more mature, and they, when you're hungry down, you just want something that's, you're not necessarily going to have, you can have a couple of. It's difficult to have a bunch of hazies. Gets a little heavy.
Yeah.
And now the brewers are better. They're like, we've had years of experience, so they realize that it's a beer that takes time and skill to make. It's not just easy peasy if you want to do it right.
Yeah. And you have to do it right now because
Yeah,
there are so
just do
many
it.
in the market.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like, the market will correct itself. The cream will rise to the top and stuff like that, right?
I'm going to give you a long pause. My mind's going to do a hiccup right now.
All right. Yeah, I think the hazy burnout is definitely something. Like I find, like, I still definitely, if I go to a brewery, I will eventually get the hazy, but I'll go through a couple other beers before I get there. It's kind of like you always try the Caesar salad at a restaurant, but you want to try the other main courses too. Like, it's just sort of like, yeah, you want to make sure to do that, the thing that everybody does right before you, if they can't get that one right, move on, kind of thing.
I used to drive my wife insane. We'd go to a restaurant and I'd order a burger because if they can't do a burger right, what can they do?
And, yeah. And I just saw that 7% thing come up. Like, yeah, I don't know when 7% became the normal for beers. Like, I can have 2 7% beers, or I can have a number of 4 to 5% beers. I like that range. At Sawdust, we try to keep at least 5 of our 18 taps will be under 5%. Like, there's a huge portion, and depending on the time of year, in the summer, it's even higher than that. Like, you could get half of it under 5. We do tend to get a little bit richer at this time of year, just because it's colder and it's
well,
more
this is the
festive.
time of year for it.
Yeah, like even with our fest beer, our Zegmail, typically they're towards the high end of 5, low end of 6, but we kept ours at 5 because I really like it. But if it's up in that 6, I'm like, I can only have 2 of these. I want to have more. I enjoy this beer, so let's keep it a little lower.
Yeah,
I think it could still be festive.
so how are you now that you've got the canning line and it changes how you're planning your brewing process? How do you guys keep yourselves engaged with what's going on?
Well, this time of year, we're kind of planning for next year and getting. We'll be doing our lager series again this year. It's where we do 4 different, like each brewer does a lager. Last year we did a Czech style. The year before was German. The year before that was just sort of the kickoff for it. And then now this year we're getting collabs. So we're going out and we're going to work with a number of breweries and produce 4 different lagers, and that'll be up to each brewer and the collaborator to decide what they want. So it could be anything. Style doesn't matter as long as they work with someone else and sort of try to gain some knowledge by working with other people. That's the goal for this year. And we usually start brewing those in December. So we try to get everything lined up in the next couple of weeks so that we can start producing those and get the schedule done. We'll start getting the brew schedule ready for next year, like what we're going to do, what we're going to bring back, what new things we're going to do. There's definitely a lot of stuff that keeps us busy. This is like sort of the getting ready for next year phase. We just come out of summer. It was very hectic with the new canning line, so everyone has a minute to breathe. And we've been really out there October's been pretty crazy. We've had a ton of collabs that we've gone out, and I think it was just finally everybody was like, it felt like we were able to go out again and see people. So, I was just at Lake of Bays last week and at Eastbound, Indy the week before. We're going to Good Lot this Sunday, and then Third Moon is coming up again next Tuesday with Terria and Emma for a very fun collab that we're going to be doing with Beer Town. It's just been specifically this month has been pretty crazy. So it's been fun getting back out and seeing people again, and then getting lined up these new collabs for next year. We're always engaged trying to, like, this is the time of year where we get out and see people again because we hunker down so much during the summer.
I can imagine that your summer is going to be your busiest period.
Oh yeah, like from May until like literally this coming weekend will be our busiest period. And yeah, Mike brought up the Orchestrated Chaos collab with Third Moon, which was another super awesome collab. I wish you guys could have got the Defenestrated Ego so you could see it. I'll kind of explain the collab after when we get into Orchestrated Chaos, or sorry, Orchard of Change. But with this free time, you can think of these things, and that one took a lot of time, more for the artists than for us. But it was a super fun project to work on.
Well, come on. I mean, Third Moon are great guys to work with. What can I say?
Yeah, I think and having the opportunity to work with them again next week on another fun project is great too. Like anytime you have it's fun seeing people and working together. And like for the last one, it was like the two beers were kind of done separately, where we sort of did our own. Like we got together and made them and sort of talked about the recipes, but it was a little bit more separate in terms of like how we approached it. This one is very much, we had to get together. This new one where we talk and sort of we shared our ideas because we had to. And not that we didn't before, but this one just seemed a little bit more like in tune with the beer side of it. So it's exciting.
Orchard of Change.
All right. So the Orchard of Change is a Baltic Porter. It's 9%, very got a lot of like rich cocoa and vanilla. It's super easy to drink. I find it's got a nice sweetness, but it's still like just an easy sipper. I'm quite happy with this one, how it turned out. So the premise behind this collab was so Orchard of Change was our half, and Defenestrated Egos was their half. And if you take the two glasses, the two cans, and you meld the labels together in a certain way, it actually spells out Orchestrated Chaos. And the idea is that a brewery is like an Orchard of Change, where it's like a feeding ground of ideas, and you're always pushing for change, and you're ripe for new ideas all the time. And sometimes to get to those places and do new things, you got to throw your ego out the window and just try stuff, which is the Defenestrated Egos part. Which defenestration is throwing something out the window. So those two things come, and when you put those two things together, you get Orchestrated Chaos. You get, it seems chaotic, but there is method to our madness. And then when you put the labels together, it spells Orchestrated Chaos. And then you make black and tan, and the two beers become one, and then I get a third beer. So that was the premise behind this. And to get everything together and all these moving pieces to get it to line up was a bit, but it was awesome. And I'm super happy with how it turned out. Working with the guys at Third Moon was awesome. And the artists, I think, did a great job. We did some fun videos for it. It was it was great. It was a wonderful experience.
You sound happy.
Yeah, I very much am. I mean, I wish I had kept some of the Defenestrated Egos. Like I didn't. On one weekend, I must have made like 5 or 6 of those black and tans, just showing everybody. And then I realized I had wasted all my cans and whatever. It really worked. The black and tan, like you could get it to stay for a number of minutes. Like it just the black just rested on top. It was fantastic. And it made a very unique tasting beer because you got the richness of their double IPA, like it was very silky and citrusy, and then you got the roasted notes, and it kind of blended into like this black IPA that really worked. And it was pretty awesome.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because that brings it all together for us.
Yeah, I mean, I wish there was, we tried our best to sort of explain it online. I feel like there is so much concept behind it that, I hope it didn't get lost in messaging. The one thing that helped is that we were able to sell both cans at our place. So we were able to, bring in we could sell them now. One of the things that came out of COVID was the ability to sell other people's beer when you collaborated. Like you can bring it in and sell it. So in our fridge, you could get both of them together and we could tell the people before the idea behind it. Unfortunately, the guys at Third Moon, their licensing doesn't allow them to do that. So they weren't able to sell ours, but I think we still got the point across. And I think, most people sort of got the idea. And a couple of the other, like, those sort of curated wine and beer shops that are popping up, they got behind it too and did some posts of their own. So it did have some outside people pushing it. And of course, Instagram, people were taking pictures of it. So we were able to bounce those and continue the momentum behind it. I really didn't expect the Baltic Porter to sell as well as it did. Like, I always, like, obviously the double IPA was going to sell faster, but I desperately wanted to make the Baltic Porter. It was a style I've wanted to do for a long time. So I was happy to do it. And, if it didn't sell in 3 weeks, I don't really care because it'll do well in the winter. It'll continue to sell. I think it's probably more of a fall winter beer anyway. So we have that to carry on. We have about, still a number of flats left to carry us through the next couple of weeks.
Did
We
they,
did pour,
did you
we
pour it
did.
out?
we
at the
did pour
tasting
it. It was a little harder to do on tap, but God bless the bartenders, they did it. And they were super proud to be able to do it. So it did work. There's still some defenestrated egos kicking around. Maybe they'll bring some up. I should probably message them to see if they could bring some up on Tuesday. So
Probably should. So with the new event space, are you planning festivals for the summer?
We have a tentative idea for the next edition of Funk Fest. It'll be very different than what we did in the past. It'll be less parking lot. I don't know how much I'm supposed to tell, but I feel like whatever. It's going to be less just sitting in a parking lot, more on a boat, and then come back to the event space after. So the idea is that we're going to have less breweries, but we're going to do it on the Winona, and it'll be a 2-hour, 3-hour trip around the lake. There'll be 8 breweries. You'll be able to try the beers from the breweries and then come back to the event space and have a little bit of party and some food after. And that's Funk Fest. It'll be like Funk Boat. But that's the idea for this year. We're just trying to change it up a little bit. Kind of sitting in a parking lot and just drinking a bunch of beers seems a little bit old school. We want to do something new, elevate it a bit, have some fun with it, embrace it, where we are in Muskoka and sort of incorporate some of the things that make Muskoka great, like the boats and lakes.
I like that. That's a great idea.
So that should be solidified. We actually have a big meeting tomorrow, so hopefully we'll get everything sorted soon and we'll start getting those ticket sales going for that.
What do you think is the most interesting trend happening right now in the industry?
Jeez. I mean, I do like the lager stuff, but I just think like the elevation of beer, like the way that it's becoming a little bit more refined and people are just getting better at it. It's not just about Instagram. Instagram seems to have, I don't know what happened. It sort of just kind of went away in terms of like people just taking the beer for the gram, but actually wanting to know, like, go beyond that. And I just like the elevation of beer, I guess. I think I see this happening a little bit more, and hopefully that continues. And hopefully more diversity in terms of not just people in the beer industry, but the beer getting back to not just a monoculture of IPAs, which I kind of got really tired of last year. I mean, I love IPAs, but I don't love them all the time. And when there's hundreds of different styles, if there's 400 breweries, why don't we have 400 different styles of beer? Everyone can do their own thing. Like I don't want to go town A, town B, town C and get the same hazy IPA at each one. Give me something different. And there seems to be more and more of that happening. So that's exciting. People embracing, the past a bit more. Or I could just be old and out of touch. I don't know.
Talk about getting old when you're my age, Sam. Okay, you're not there yet.
I know. I'm still a young man. I just sometimes, when you've been in it for a while, in the industry for a while, you sort of start to see those, you're an older statesman now when going from being the young guy to being someone who's been around for a while. You miss some of the stuff that happened. You're excited about new things, but I think you look back to the past and what has changed and where it's going and what do you see that you like or what do you see that you miss a little bit more. Nostalgia sets in, I think, a bit.
That's an interesting question. If you weren't in the craft beer industry, what would you be doing right now?
Oh God, I'd love to make pizza. I would love to be making pizza. I don't know how to do it.
I'd love to do a collab with you for my 65th birthday. I'll even bring my pizza oven up with me so we can make pizza while we're doing it.
Okay, that would be great. I mean, I love making pizza. I love the dough. I got a pizza oven during COVID as well, and really got into that. And just I watched a lot of pizza videos and really started to enjoy it and the process of it, and just probably make it once a week. A little bit more in the summer. The last couple of weeks have been busy, so I haven't had a chance, but it's a lot of fun. I don't know if I have the drive to start something again right now.
When did you graduate?
When did I graduate? From brew school or
from brew school?
2006.
Okay, you're an elder statesman now. It's 16 years.
Yeah, it'll be 17 and coming up in January. Yeah. I'm like, I look back at it, I'm like, geez.
They've gone by fast.
It does. Like, I was listening to a radio thing today about the Deal sisters and how that Kim Deal, the girl from the Pixies and the Breeders, and they're talking. It was on the radio, and they're talking about how they were born in 1961, and I'm like, holy shit, they're 60. The people that were in the Pixies are 60 years old now. This is the band that I grew up listening to. I'm like, I guess all our heroes, everybody gets older. It's just you can't, you have this album that's frozen in time, and then you think about the people on it, and they're like, yeah, they got older, damn it. Anyways.
When do you want me to come up to do the collab?
When's your 65th birthday? We did a thing last year, like there was
end of February.
Oh, that would be a good time. We had we did a pizza night, guy at our brewery. Like we tried something where we're like secret talents of the Sawdust employees. So we were trying to start like this thing, and we attempted it with one of the guys. He was really good at making pizza, so we had him come in and just be a pizza chef for a night, and then you could come and buy pizza and get beers, and you could take it home. It was still during the throes of COVID, so it was more like pickup, but you couldn't really stay. But it was fun to sort of do that and make them for people at the brewery. I never really took off the whole secret talents of, but I don't know why it just sort of died after that. We'll see. It sort of fit in with this motif thing. I mean, it would be fun because then you like making that we can make the dough. You could make the dough ahead of time and bring it up, like do a 72-hour ferment.
Absolutely, I can make the dough ahead of time and bring it up.
Yeah, that would be fun.
And we'll use your pizza oven. I won't even have to pack mine in my car.
I got the little uni Kuru, so it's actually a transportable one, and you just fold up its legs, and it's on a forklift.
I got one from PC. My wife bought it for me.
Nice. So. Yeah, mine was a wood and coal, but then I got the attachment for propane, and I'm like, damn, this is so much easier. So I mean, the wood was great, but then I was learning to make pizza, but then you also have to learn how to tend a fire, and it was hard to do both.
Yeah.
Well, when you just propane, you can set it, and it was just easier because it's a lot. And the wood character, like if you let your pizza sit overnight, like you didn't really taste it with that first day, but if you ate it the next day, you like the wood character came out like insane. Anyway.
Yes, the smoke from the wood. Yep.
It was a fun thing to learn when the world was doing its thing.
What's your favorite style of pizza to make?
We started with more of the Neapolitan style because that was the wood-fired pizza. But then as I also got a pizza steel, and I really started I grew up eating more like stone-baked pizzas.
Yeah.
And then as I started I got a lot more proficient with the pizza steel in my oven, and I like more of an American style, like a New York style pepperoni pizza. Like, as much as it's basic, I think it's fucking awesome. Like, just a good pet pizza with big cups and a nice chewy, crunchy crust. Like, it's amazing. And you just crush that pizza, and it also goes really good with pilsners.
Yes,
or
it does.
IPA. It's a great beer combo. And like, as much as the final product is great with the beer, making pizza and having beer while you're making the pizza, it's the beer that you have making the pizza that's even better. In my mind. I like the cooking and beer thing. And you're enjoying the beer while you're making the food.
I hear you on that. Sam.
Sometimes you get cooking for too long and you have to cut yourself.
So what's next for you, Sam?
What's next for Sawdust?
No, for you, not Sawdust, for Sam.
Oh, I'll just keep doing this. I mean, I'm very happy with where the direction of Sawdust is and continuing to grow this. And, I think with Sawdust, we've come to a place where we're comfortable with where we exist. We're not trying to take over the world. We make enough product to service our area. We have marginal growth that keeps us moving forward. But we also provided a work environment where everybody doesn't feel stressed out all the time. They're coming to work, feeling fulfilled with their jobs. We have a good work-life balance. And I want to continue to do that, to create an environment that people like to come to work for, and then share beer with people. That's what I want to continue doing. Like, as you get older, like the drive to go out and do all this stuff, kind of like you want it to fit more in with your family life, and just having all of those things that work in unison, as opposed to like when we were starting, it was fighting against finding time for your family while still trying to push this brewery forward. There's not enough time, and that took a bit. It takes a toll. Like, you see these people, like entrepreneurs, are the ones that really throw it in there. It's a tough slog, and then once you get to a spot that you're comfortable with, it's nice to, like, for me at least, I just want to relax in there and find a nice little rut and ride it out.
Thank you. I'm not going to ask any more questions. I think we're going to stop on that note. Thank you, Sam, for taking time out of your busy schedule to, again, share your story with us. It's always such a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you.
No problem. I love coming out here and talking about beers. It's nice. I mean, it's been a while. I really want to get back to the KW Guelph area. We'll be close with Good Lot this weekend, but it's been a while since I've been to KW, and I need to get back out there. I got to go see Bobo and hit up all the breweries, and maybe when we do the release of Bone Pine, we'll get back out to the KW. I think that's probably where it'll kick off, which is the collab that we're doing with Third Moon. I don't know if the cat was supposed to get out of the bag, but it's thoroughly out.
We didn't hear anything about that.